Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are ready to begin this evening's board meeting. Sergeant at Arms or designee has front lobby been attended to ensure public access? Yes, okay, thank you. Just answered myself. The school board meeting of June 14th, 2022 is now called to order. The time is 6:01 p.m. We would like to take this opportunity to remind the members of the public of the district's mission, which is to ensure that each student achieves his or her highest personal potential and the district vision to be a world-class school system. Board member Giovanelli will be participating and voting by phone this evening pursuant to Board Policy 1.11. Ms. Giovanelli, are you present? Ms. Giovanelli, are you present? Okay, well, we will continue on, and then if she does come on, then she will be here. This evening's agenda includes invocation, pledge of allegiance, acknowledgements, recognitions, public comments, consent action items, which include 1 item under board office, 8 items under academic services, 8 items under business services, 3 items under human resources, 6 items under operations, 6 items under public hearings, and 4 items under other business. Board members, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
To adopt the agenda as printed.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Gittens. And so that was moved by Ms. Fisher and seconded by Ms. Gittens. And Ms. Giovanelli, is that you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We are in the process of recording the vote for the agenda items. Can you record, can you do yours from where you're located, Ms. Giovanelli?
Yes.
Okay, she said she can do hers. So, Ms. Roman, can you please let me know I'm sorry? Ms. Giovanelli, how do you vote?
I'm a yes.
Thank you. Seven zero, motion carries. Thank you. Ms. Gittens will introduce her guest for invocation, after which Ms. Fisher will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Gittens, please introduce your guest for the invocation.
And I'm actually doing this on behalf of Ms. Giovanelli, who is ill. Pastor Mike Jones has been involved in full-time ministry for over 30 years. He has served as a music and worship pastor, a college chaplain at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, a church planter and senior pastor in Tampa, Florida, a denominational executive, and an adjunct seminary professor. He is currently serving as the acting senior pastor of New Hope Presbyterian Church here in Fort Myers. His wife, Gina, and he have 3 children, one of whom is a rising junior at Cypress Lake High School. Welcome, Pastor Mike. And will we all stand?
You stand?
Your blessing, your presence, your will. Father, you remind us through the Psalms that one generation will praise you to the next. And that's really our goal, Father, is that we would be able to raise children who will know you, who will walk in your ways, who will be able to praise you to their children and to their children's children. Father, we pray for those that you have brought into this position on the school board. We pray for our superintendent. We pray for our teachers, for our staff, for guidance counselors, for mental health specialists, for all of those that have such a profound input on our students throughout Lee County. Father, we pray for the literally tens of thousands of students that are represented here in this room tonight, for their parents, for their families, for their futures, for the vision that you have for them, that they may seek you to receive it. Father, remind us that it would be easy to get lost in all of the numbers, but every number has a name, and every name has a story, and every story has a future. And so we commit this time to you, Father. Help us to be good followers, not only good leaders. But as we pray for our leaders, Lord, we pray that we would be reminded of what you tell us in Hebrews, that we would follow our leaders so that their service to us would be a joy. And so we pray, Father, that it would be a joy for them as they lead us in this very, very important task. Father, we pray also that whenever they seek wisdom, that they would seek it from you. Again, you make that promise through your word, that if any of us lacks wisdom, we should ask you, who love to give it, but we shouldn't ask unless we're going to do it. And so we pray, Father, that you would give us that wisdom, that you would give us that courage, that you would give us that boldness, just as you have given us such great a task. And so, Father, we pray that your presence would be here, that you would guide us, and that we would seek first your kingdom, and then all the other things would be added to us as well. We ask, Father, that you hear us. Amen. Amen.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes, please remain standing. At this time, we'll salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Thank you.
Next on the agenda are acknowledgements. The character education word for June is cooperation. Alone, we can do so little. Together, we can do so much. Helen Keller. The design you see displayed on the screen was created by Abigail Burnkill, a senior student at Estero High School. Acknowledgements for the month. The School Board of Lee County acknowledges the following events for the month of June 2022. Pride Month, June 1 through 30th, 2022. Caribbean American Heritage Month, June 1st through 30th, 2022. Recognitions, next on the agenda. The board members, if you'll please join me in the pit, and you all know which ones you'll be doing. We have a Parent University, Cambridge District Award, Outstanding Cambridge Learners, Apple Mentor of the Year, New Teacher of the Year, Guest Teacher of the Year, Weightlifting State Champions, and Baseball State Champions. You know who you are. So if everybody will please step down here. Do you want your order? Yes.
Okay, good evening. The School District of Lee County Parent University has created to increase the capacity of parents and guardians to be actively engaged in their child's education. This is the second year that this program was offered to families of the school district. For the 21-22 school year, Parent University provided 6 virtual learning sessions that included topics and activities for students of all ages and their families. In order to complete the program, participants must attend 75% of the sessions, which include a follow-up survey on topics presented. While we had hundreds of parents participate throughout the year, 22 parents representing 25 schools completed the 2021 program. The names of these parents are all listed in this agenda item in board docs. However, we do have parents representing some of our schools present here today. I'd like to invite Ms. Herman Lancaster, Director of Communications, and Dr. Adam Malloy, Coordinator of Community Engagement, to join me at the lectern to help me recognize these parents. They have led the efforts with the communications and engagement team to bring this program to our district families. Please come up to be recognized. From Pine Woods Elementary, Tim Sims. And from Pine Woods Elementary, also Amanda Sims. So we got a twofer, the whole Sims family. And who is this young Mr. Sims? Did you help as well? Yes. Did you graduate from Parent University? Yes, good job. And from G. Weaver Hibbs Elementary, we have, well, I guess that one's crossed off. From, is this one crossed off?
Yes, that one is, so you're going to...
Okay. From Ramus C. Page Elementary and Cypress Lake Middle, Jacqueline Mendez. Ms. Mendez? Okay. And from Heights Elementary School, Anisha Singh. Thank you. Congratulations. And go there. And from Dunbar High School and Lehigh Acres Middle School, Araceli Rodriguez. Did I say it correctly? Ms. Rodriguez, Araceli Rodriguez. Congratulations. And she said, Ms. Rodriguez said, all of the information was extremely helpful. So thank you. Please go.
Stand in front of us.
Every year, Cambridge International honors 3 exceptional districts across the U.S. in large, medium, and small categories. Within each category, Cambridge International recognizes the district that ranks highest based on these criteria: increasing access to rigorous Cambridge curriculum, sustaining or improving student performance on exams, and committing to equity in education for all students. The School District of Lee County has been selected as Cambridge International's District of the Year in the large district category for 2021-22. I'd like to invite Heather Sinopoulos, Deputy Regional Director with Cambridge International North America, to say a few remarks. She will be joined by her colleagues, Jeremy Riggio, Don Myers, and Abby Nandy.
Good evening, Superintendent, board members, and members of the Lee County School District. My name is Heather Sinopoulos. As she said, I'm the Deputy Regional Director for Cambridge North America, a part of the University of Cambridge, and it is my honor to be here tonight to honor Lee District for what they've done in improving access opportunity for students. Events like this are really important for Cambridge because it's our opportunity to thank the students, the families, the teachers, the administrators, the schools, the districts, and the leaders that make Cambridge possible. I guess I would like to invite the
Debbie Jordan, the chair.
Debbie Jordan up to receive the plaque. Congratulations.
Guys, Louisiana, and then I think I will do a little bit more, you might as well stay there. The Outstanding Cambridge Learner Awards are a group of awards issued by Cambridge Assessment International Education. The primary purpose is to recognize the success of high-performing Cambridge learners. 2 Lee County seniors won national awards for their performance on the June 2021 Cambridge Advanced International Certificate of Education, ACE, assessments. Estero High School student Hayden Germanis earned a Top in Country Award for Digital Media and Design. Top in Country Awards are presented to students who were in the highest standard mark in the nation in an individual subject. He is off to France, so he is not able to join us. Will the representative for Hayden please approach the podium and accept the award? Also being recognized this evening is Matthew Powell from Lehigh Senior High School, who was recognized with the Best Across 4 award for attaining the highest cumulative total standard marks in the country in 4 AS level assignments. Will the representative for Matthew Powell please come forward to accept? He's already in college at school. There you go. So, photos.
I have to comment that way to go, Estero Wildcat, who won that award. I had the pleasure in my final year of teaching before I retired of teaching a couple classes of ACE Language A, and it was a big learning experience for me and very rewarding. Okay, so the School District of Lee County is proud to announce the formal recognition of Apple's Mentor of the Year. School-based administrators were invited to nominate Apple mentors who demonstrate excellence in their ability to support beginning teachers. Through a collaborative effort of the Teacher Association of Lee County, district administrators, and school staff, a committee was created to review the written nominations and select finalists to be interviewed. The school board and superintendent are pleased to recognize the 2022 Mentor of the Year, and that is Ms. Anna LaMotta, collaborative teacher. Your collaborative teacher at Hector A. Cafarata. We congratulate this deserving, you're not a disturbing individual, this deserving individual for her support of beginning teachers in Lee County, and that is such an important role.
Thank you
Congratulations. You're already here. Are we doing pictures, this, or? Okay, Dr. Helen Martin, Assistant Director of Professional Development, has joined me at the lectern. The School District of Lee County is proud to announce the formal recognition of the new teacher of the year. School-based administrators were invited to nominate a first-year teacher that demonstrated superior ability to foster excellence in education and contributed to the continuous improvement of student learning, professional growth, and the school environment. Through a collaborative effort of the Teacher Association of Lee County, district administrators, and school staff, a committee was created to review the written nominations and select the finalists to be interviewed. The school board and superintendent are pleased to recognize the 2022 New Teacher of the Year, Ms. Marilyn Garcia, new teacher at James Stevens Elementary School. I have one more line. We congratulate this deserving individual for her commitment to our students and professional growth during her first year in Lee County. Congratulations, and here's to 30 more years.
Good job.
Okay. I know it's here somewhere. I don't need to invite Dr. Martin because she's already here. The School District of Lee County is proud to announce the formal recognition of the Guest Teachers of the Year. School-based administrators and teachers were invited to nominate a guest teacher who demonstrated exceptional skill and dedication in the performance of their jobs, thereby earning the respect and admiration of students, teachers, administrators, and co-workers. The school board and superintendent are pleased to recognize the following guest teachers of the year. At the elementary level, Virginia Krebs. Congratulations. At the middle school level, John Wells. Thank you. We appreciate your service.
Congratulations. Thank you so much.
We'll get your number there for. At the high school level, Ronald Smith. Thank you. You could check. And finally, at Special Centers, Barbara Chapin. We congratulate these deserving individuals for their commitment to students and schools in Lee County.
At this time, I'd like to invite any administrators, athletic coaches from Fort Myers High School who are present this evening to please join me at the screen, at the podium, along with our state champions. Just saying, Florida's the third largest state in the nation, and we have 2 state champions in weightlifting here. The School District of Lee County is proud to recognize the 2022 Florida High School Athletic Association Boys Weightlifting State Champions. Competition was held at Port St. Joe High School on April 23, 2022. Senior Jacob Renz from Fort Myers High School, competing in the 129-pound weight class, won the District 2A 15 title class state champion in the snatch with a lift of 169 pounds. Also from Fort Myers is junior Charles Michelle, competing in the 199-pound weight class, won state champion in the snatch with a lift of 220 pounds. The school board and superintendent are pleased to recognize these young athletes with their coach, Pat Casey, for their commitment, determination, and hard work that led to this outstanding accomplishment. And at this time, I'd like to invite any administrators and athletic coaches from Island Coast High School who are present this evening to please join me at the lectern. Administrators, athletic coaches. Don't worry, student athletes, we will call you up one by one by name. Congratulations. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Super excited. Island Coast High School's baseball team made history in Lee County, defeating Jensen Beach for the Class 4A state championship. They won the school's first ever FHSAA state title and became the first public school in Lee County to win a state title in baseball. Listen to this. Island Coast baseball team started the season with 3 losses. We should talk about that. In their first 4 games, but they turned it around. After their 7th loss to Ida Baker on April 21st, they went on a winning streak to get into the playoffs and outscored their opponents 54-14. The The championship game against Jensen Beach was delayed by rain and didn't finish until 1 a.m. Listen, it's hard for an athlete to stay in the groove when your competition is interrupted, and these guys stayed in the groove. The high school celebrated the team's historic win with a loud pep rally a few days later. The next week, the players were treated to police and fire truck escorts to a team luncheon. The state championship trophy, where is it? Let's hold that high. That trophy will be proudly displayed near the school's main entrance. The school board and superintendent are pleased to recognize these outstanding athletes on this historic moment. I'd like you guys to come through, and then I'll call the kids' names. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Good job.
Thank you.
Awesome job. All right, now I'm gonna call the kids' names, and there are a lot of them here. I want everyone's name to be heard, so please hold your applause until I'm done, because I really want every child's name to be heard. When I call your name, guys, please come up. Diego Hernandez. Not here. Juan Torres. Anthony Ruiz. Saul Rodriguez. Not here. Javier Cabrera. Jordi Guerrero. Did I say that name? Yes. Good. Congratulations. Dylan Masters. Davin Hickman. Jason Richardson. Congratulations, buddy. Jake Billings. Not here. Emilio Gonzalez.
Congratulations, Catch.
Awesome job, great classes. Kevin Martinez. Good job, buddy. Congratulations. Jake Mueller. Awesome job, buddy. Oh, congratulations. Javen Torres. Congratulations, good job, buddy.
Congratulations.
Eddie Bo Rodriguez. Good job, buddy. You're welcome. Carter Long. Good job, buddy. Tommy Byrne.
Yeah, I know. Congratulations. Thank you.
Caden Oxman. Did I say it wrong? No. Okay, good job. I don't have your names on my list. Please come up. Jason Finnegan, is that you?
And Santa Gate.
Santa Gate. And what is your name? And William Hitchcock. Congratulations. They'll remember this forever. Good job, guys.
Yes. Oh, yes. The beat? You gotta get the beat. You want us to see it. Good job.
They'll never forget it.
At this time, we're going to take a moment, so if there's anyone who wishes to leave, you may do so at this time.
Okay,
you
don't
going?
even stay on our account.
What?
Okay,
What
now you
happened?
can say it. Yeah.
I know, it keeps going on.
I don't like it when they all...
My screen won't stay up for long.
Gives you a lot. Now do we ask the people to come up to the front?
Boy, I guess we know how to clean out a room.
Yes?
That's his, isn't that his?
Okay, we will go ahead and continue. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Ms. Dupree Bruno, please address the item of public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening. School board policy provides the opportunity at this point in the meeting to address the board concerning any matter on this meeting's agenda or any other matter relevant to the operation of the school district. If you completed a public comment card, please put it in the basket provided at the back of the room. If you need a public comment card, they are provided by our staff located in the hallway outside of the boardroom. The rules concerning public comment are posted in and will be made from the microphone in the back of the room. Please be advised that the board will not respond during public comment to remarks made by speakers. Speakers and those attending the meeting are expected to act in a respectful manner. The purpose of public comment is to provide feedback on school district issues. Abusive language is prohibited. In addition, clapping, hissing, and booing, unreasonably loud and/or offensive language, swearing, cursing, or display of temper during the public comment period is prohibited. Speakers who fail to follow proper decorum in the chambers will be ruled out of order. Any speaker continuing with such remarks will be required to relinquish the microphone per Board Policy 1.11 and may be removed from the chambers. We will take recesses as necessary if there's not decorum in the chambers. Per Board Policy 1.11, the time per speaker is 3 minutes if there are 20, 2 minutes if there are 30, and 1 minute if there are 31 speakers or more. The maximum time allotted for public comment is 1 hour, 60 speakers. You will find a countdown on the big screens in the front of the room. Once your time has elapsed, the microphone will automatically shut off. Please state your name when you approach the microphone. I will call your names 5 speakers at a time. Please follow staff's direction when lining up. Madam Chair, there are 13 speakers that wish to address the board this evening.
Thank you. Please make, excuse me. Please make sure you have completed a public comment card if you intend to provide public comment. The card is a public record identifying those who speak, for those who speak and providing contact information to staff for follow-up. The cards are located with the staff in the hallway. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the board but did not fill out a comment card? Please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, Ms. Dupree Bruno, would you please begin?
Chair, will the following individuals please line up? Lori Brown, Marsha Ellis, Robert Roper, Sam Stevens, Frank Palea.
If I may interrupt, I believe that's Sam Stewart.
Not Sam Stevens?
I apologize, Mr. Stewart. Good to see you.
Good evening, board members. This evening, I want to bring up a point about school shootings and one of the books that we have in our district. There have been 27 school shootings this year. There have been 119 school shootings since 2018, when Education Week began tracking such incidents. The highest number of shootings, 34, occurred last year. There were 10 shootings in 2020 and 24 each in 2019 and 2018. The latest shooting was on May 24th, where 19 children and 2 adults were killed and 16 injured in a shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. It was the deadliest school shooting since 2012, when a gunman shot and killed 26 people as young as 6 years old at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. Fatalities, 17 dead. The assailant also shot and injured his grandmother at her home prior to the incident. In Iowa, 2 teens are charged with first-degree murder for conspiracy to commit murder of their teacher. This was a planned and executed plot to kill the 66-year-old teacher away from the school. Yet a student at the Lee County school system can go to the library and check out a book titled Killing Mr. Griffin by Lois Duncan. The book centers around a plot to kill Mr. Griffin, the school teacher. Thus, the title of the book. Did you hear that? A premeditated and detailed plan to kill a school teacher is in our school district. It's in our schools and it's in our libraries. The central theme of the book is so horrific, you miss the numerous references to topics like animal cruelty, like setting a cat on fire at the school, drug use, lying, kidnapping, torture, and I could go on. Why this book is in our system, available for our kids to read, is beyond me. This book is deplorable, it sends mixed signals, and should never, ever be offered in any school at any level. You guys should be ashamed of yourselves.
My name is Marcia Ellis, and I've been to a number of board meetings over the past year. One of the common themes that's come up that I very much agree with, there's actually 2. One theme is concerns regarding transparency as it relates to district dealings and education in general. And the second theme is equity in educational facilities, with a focus on getting those facilities to the East Zone where they're in need. So today I stand before you with grave concern regarding the charter school process and the application that is before the district that was put forth by Erica Donalds for the charter school in the Estero area. I have deep concern because of the way that the Lee County government zoning has been handling this application. A request for a zoning waiver verification was put into Lee Gov while we still have an outstanding application that has not been approved with the district. In that zoning waiver, basically is a way to circumvent the zoning process that would involve bringing it forward into the public light and having the opportunity for public input on that facility. I want to point out that 1 in 3 charter schools in the state of Florida fail. The amount of back dealings that are taking place with this charter school is appalling. One of the things that I want to point out is that there was recently a general meeting that was held, and the plan that was put forth for this charter school included subdividing that piece of property in the DRGR with 2 additional frontage commercial properties with not enough open space or a plan to deal with surface water in no retention pond. So there's a complete lack of understanding of the expectations for zoning for educational facilities as we expect them to be in this district, and the process of approving a zoning waiver prior to approval of that application is of grave concern to me, especially going forward as stop guards in terms of local approval of charter schools will fall down in July 1st. And I want to make members of the community who have worked for transparency and who have worked for equitable distribution of schools, who are here in the audience today and have spoken about this issue, aware that I have the information. And if you would like to see what I have gathered up, I make it available.
Hello, my name is Frank Pillay. I'm a teacher in this Louis County school system for about 20 years. I want to thank the school board for allowing me to come up and have a little chat with you for a few minutes. I do have one item of concern, but before I start with that, I just want to thank you for the celebratory nature of the beginning of this meeting. They're very well-deserved awards, and I was very pleased to be able to observe that and participate. Thank you for this minute. I thought it was just going to be a minute, so I may go on a little bit. But my concern is with the new grading system that the school district has begun this year. It is strictly a letter grading system. It is designed, if you look into the details of it, and I have written to Ms. Patrica about this, and she may have copied you on some of the, I've written her 2 letters actually, and she's written me 1. But it's very disturbing to me that this system, unfortunately, it diminishes higher performing student grades and it elevates lower performing student grades. It provides the school district with a falsely elevated graduation rate for seniors because of that. And unfortunately, the thing that really bothers me is that we're putting students out into the workforce who are not equipped to compete. We need to make sure that they are ready and willing to go out and compete for any job that's available to them. And I'm afraid that that is not happening with this grading system because we are putting weaker, when I say weaker, I mean lower educated students out into the workforce. I have copies of my letters to Ms. Patrica, but you already have them, Ms. Patrica. I believe you can just circulate them to the board if they would like to look into this further. But my mantra is let teachers teach and let teachers grade. That's really that will get us out of all this. I'll give you an example that made me upset. A teacher that works next door to me, she had a young lady who in quarter 3 got a C, and in quarter 4 decided to do nothing and only showed up half the time. It got zeros on all of her tests, and on the final exam got a 0. Well, she passed the class with a D because of this new system. So I would really encourage you to please take a look at that system again. And if I can be of any help in that regard, I'd be glad to do it. But I really, as our new superintendent said, our students cannot wait, and I agree with that. We need to get busy and get our students out into the workforce who can read, write, and do simple math effectively, which I'm not seeing. So.
Will the following individuals please line up? Lou Navarra, Sharon McGill, Michael Higgins, Denise Nystrom, Christy DiVigili.
My name's Robert Roper. I want to start off by thanking Dr. Spiro and his team for all the hard work and dedication in the ad hoc committee meetings. He is a very helpful, generous, open-minded, good listener. Thank you for the seemingly renewed trust that we're developing now, and I appreciate those efforts. On March 16th, we requested that the district amend Policy 2.18, District Management and Selection of Instructional Material. We wanted it to be amended so that any submission of challenges to instructional or media material, a process document, be made attachable in electronic format to any objected books, so that at any given time, a student requests to obtain a book, either physical or an e-book, that the parent can be made aware of the given process documents associated with that book. The board has in the past explored a book rating system, and it's determined to be too subjective in nature and otherwise not feasible to do. This policy would allow parents to be notified of previous objections to the books. This would protect the book and the student and the parent's rights. It puts the parent in the role to evaluate prior reports, then approve or disapprove the distribution of the book to the student, giving parents ultimate control. In other words, modify the policy to eliminate the divide that suppresses, that would suppress this partisan bickering and bring unity to believers and non-believers alike. I'm officially requesting that the ad hoc committee consider suspending the book reviews and apply those efforts toward going ahead and modifying Policy 2.18. We're spending thousands of hours reviewing books, and we're just, it's not very effective. This is not a partisan issue, never has been. Any attempt to associate this request with conservatism or religious beliefs is overlooking the fact that this proposal protects the rights of all parents, whether we agree politically or spiritually or not. Please tag the books in question, give a concise, factual overview of the book contents that are being challenged, and let the parent and the student decide. A great example is Killing Mr. Griffin that we just heard about. I would be more than happy to reimburse the district for the 21 copies if they would remove them, and I would even replace them with morally and socially redeeming books that fit our student population.
Samuel Stewart. My reason for being here really fits into the theme this evening. It's to offer congratulations. And I was really so pleased to be here this evening. Congratulations to achieving that Cambridge Award. Congratulations for honoring all the outstanding students and teachers and administrators. So I was really very pleased to be here this evening. I also want to offer congratulations to this Board of Education for conducting a comprehensive national search that has resulted in the appointment of an experienced professional leader as our superintendent of schools, one who puts students first and who has a keen understanding of teaching and learning and how to create learning communities. And congratulations to Dr. Bernier, as you have moved into this district. Your knowledge, your deportment, and your confidence shows. And so I'm very proud to have you here. And I was especially pleased with the rational, systematic plan of action you presented for the board to allow the board to set priorities and to give your staff a chance to review those priorities and come up with action plans. So it's a way of engaging both the board and the staff in the work. And that's a very, very good sign. As some of the people on the board know, I was a superintendent in one of those northern districts for over 35 years. and I was superintendent. I was also county superintendent. And I've had a chance to recruit superintendents, evaluate superintendents, watch superintendents work with boards. And I can tell you, Lee County community, we're really blessed to have Dr. Bernier here. So thank you all so much. Just one of the functions of growing old.
Hello, my name is Michael Higgins. I'm from the Libertarian Party of Florida. Thank you for being here, everyone that did stay. I'd like to say to the board that I do take issue when you are asking people to leave after you hold a beautiful tribute. Long ago, as many of you educators already know, the Roman Empire held tributes to hide their faults. And it seems that we have in the country, inflation is tearing us apart due to political spendthrifts in government. Tonight, you guys are going to approve more expenditure, which, as a libertarian, I disagree with. I think government should be smaller, not bigger. You have a $1.9 billion budget, which is far too big for what is getting done. And again, these achievements are amazing, but they're not yours. They are the children's. So I would like to keep that. Everyone should keep that in mind, that the children achieve these things and their families have, along with the school, not just the school. There's a lot of complaints about the grooming that's going on in school. It is Pride Month, and I have nothing against gay people or the LGBT community. I think you should be who you want to be as an individual. However, I don't believe it is the government's right to impose postmodernist thought upon the children. Your job is not to seek equity, it's to teach the children how to learn academics. Cambridge was here and it was talking about this. However, they gave credit to postmodernism rather than classical liberalism, which is exactly where they got their achievements from. So there's that with Cambridge. I think what a lot of people here, where I disagree actually with everyone here, is I don't think this is going to work overall. I believe decentralization of government is the only way forward, since it's already too corrupt. And with all the alleged fraud, it doesn't seem that we're getting anywhere with that. Private education and homeschooling is something that I have indulged in with my children, and I'm seeing greater results than I have seen in the public schools, so I encourage everyone to do that. Thank you.
Denise Nystrom. When people do the right thing when you're not looking, there's something to be said for that. And I want to take this opportunity this evening to thank board member Betsy Vaughn, because even though a number of us who are generally here during workshops have not been able to attend, we are watching them at home. We're texting each other. And I want to thank you yesterday, because when they were talking about board policies, you specifically stated that there should be no consensus on any board policy, because you understood your community and you understood that they would want to weigh in on any policy that was presented. And so I just want to say to you this evening, thank you, because that is correct. We are following along and we would want to weigh in. Have a good evening.
B2A is still out there, nothing to wipe the mic with.
Oh, well, we tried to wish it away. It's not going away, though.
Mr. Navarro, just wait a second so we can get the clock up for you.
Well, you don't have it.
He's trying to wake the mic off.
Well, give me back my 10
Start it.
seconds, will you please?
Could you please fix that?
Good evening, Superintendent. Welcome to Lee County.
Mr. Navarro, okay.
And board members. Lou Navarro, 38-year retired teacher. I sent you letters. The appellate court has overturned the charter school money, which you refused to share with Cape Coral, and in that regard, they raised our electric tax. Shame on you. Now, I've talked to Ms. Fisher and everything, and you're wrong. You need to go look at the appellate court. It's dated May. I'm not going to go spend a lot of time on it because you took away my 10 seconds. But you need to share it. You had that bogus election. You never told us, and it's the exact ruling that happened in Dade County. So you need to look into that. Cape Coral is tax happy. Anyway, elected superintendent, I like that idea. I really do. I did the research. We've had an appointed superintendent every 4 years. Dr. Pardorf, I remember, started at 39,000. What are we up to now? About 245 with the new superintendent? And what do we have? Still only 53% of the children can pass a test. Of course, I don't believe in tests anyway. Lastly, I wanted to tell you, Ms. Jordan, we discussed it, please, don't print papers at our taxpayers' expense like they did in that half-a-cent regressive sales tax. You have plenty of money now to share it with everybody. And in fact, my $60,000 proposition for teachers to start here in Lee County, we got plenty of money in that coffer for the half-cent regressive sales tax, inflation. And there's a meeting coming up, and I'm hoping, God willing, to attend it. I want to present Dr. Bernier this. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. My son gave it to the board here in 2018. It was his thesis. He quit teaching, even though he has a master's degree too. They never read it. Maybe you'll read it, and here's the other copy for all of you to do and read this time. And Debbie, I know you weren't on the board when this half-cent tax was passed, so we'll skip that. And I want the public to remember tripledippers.org. You'll see how much money the administrator.
Will the following individuals please line up? Kathy Stout, Joe Phillips, Cordacia Rickine.
Good evening to everyone. I've stated on numerous occasions here that I support fully parental rights, but with those rights come responsibilities for adults to actively participate in their own child's education, both at school and at home. The district offers several opportunities for that to take place, one being specifically Policy 2.18, where parents and guardians have the opportunity to challenge either instructional or media use materials for their child. On February 22nd, at a briefing meeting, Academic Services presented to the board this policy in detail. It included information on the single challenge form and the opportunity for parents to add notes to a student's Destiny account. They can either list specific books they don't want their child to read, or they can control permission and just say that any book before being checked out has to have parental permission. So my question is, why are certain individuals in special interest groups whose names were redacted from emails are being given special treatment to submit lists of books they want to challenge, circumventing policy 2.18? So now it's been done, and you've opened the door, and precedent has been set. So now any policy the school board has is in jeopardy. I became aware of this when I saw all the challenges on the calendar. And I agree with Mr. Roper that too many district hours, over 500 this year alone, were spent on the ad hoc committee, reading books, meeting to discuss books, and then following up on that. You talked about student outcomes yesterday. Think where those over 500 hours of district resources could have been used to help student outcomes. And just keep that, I mean, over 500 hours, that's mind-boggling. How many children could have been read a book to? I mean, who knows how many other things could have been done that would have had direct impact on student outcomes. So I just hope going forward, and Mr. Roper also said maybe we can come to a consensus. Well, all the parties have to be at the table to come to a consensus. And it appears that this consensus with academic services has been very one-sided and caters to specific special interest groups without involving the entire community. So I hope going forward you take that into consideration.
Good evening, Christy DiVigili. So I have a few questions. We'll start with the agenda. First one is item G3, that has to do with the best services. I'm wondering why. So if I'm reading this correctly, we're requesting $25,000 from Best Home Services so that they can advertise on banners at our high schools. And are we offering this to anybody else? Did we only offer this to Best Home Services? Why did we pick Best Home Services? Like, I don't have anything against them, but I have lots of questions about why there's a specific company in this, and was this, offered to everyone? My next one would be, well, I would be remiss if I did not bring up my favorite agenda item on every school board agenda, and that is approval to remove items from official property records. I bring this up at every single meeting because at every meeting there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions. As a matter of fact, we've got $1.5 million in official property that needs to be gotten rid of. So I have a suggestion for you guys. The Orange County Comptroller, they have a surplus property portion of their website. And what happens with this is the surplus property goes to public auction, which allows the county to recover part of its expenditures for equipment and vehicles and provide the public with a fair and open opportunity to purchase the items. I've been asking about these items at every meeting for I can't even tell you guys how long now. I think this right here would solve at least, me asking about this. I'm not the only one who's asked about it though. And then I would just want to close by saying, I created a post earlier today on Facebook, on my Facebook, about our agendas on board docs because there was a disclaimer at the bottom of all of the meetings from today's meetings all the way through August, which said that masks are required in the district office. And then magically, when I showed up this evening, poof, they were gone. Are we spying on my Facebook?
Good evening, Kathy Stout. In
In recent news, we can't even express the loss of any children or child that just recently took place in Texas. But here recently in Cape Coral, 2 children were found with stolen guns, magazines, and a notepad. Very, very scary and very alarming. Don't you agree? Now, here's some kind of information that I could share with you if you have not known. Before you even go to your agendas this evening and prove all of this money, have you even thought about yesterday at your meeting to put extra security into our own school district? That, to me, is top priority. Charlotte County actually has metal detectors as we stand. Why don't we have that? And why didn't you accept the Guardian program when it's offered? This is something that you really need to take consideration, okay? Another level of security that I was thinking about, you know, when you go to all these different stadiums, clear backpacks makes perfect sense to me. What do you think? So going into the school year, this coming up school year, I advise that all of you have the highest, one of your top priorities should be security for our children. Before you adopt anything that is unnecessary to spend in our school district. It is our taxpayer money, and I guarantee you, if you partner with parents, and if you can even understand that, the security is going to be their #1 priority going into the next school year. And I really believe by researching and really understanding that this is imperative, because what is the first thing that you make all of us do before coming into this meeting? We are checked, wound down, and look in our bags. Why can't we do this in schools? If that's not of a concern, I would really think about that, because you would be a hypocrite if you don't agree that you need to build up your security a little bit better. And for the last thing, think about gated communities. What do we have to show? Your IDs. Have a good evening.
Hello, everybody. I'm Smoking Joe. I'd be remiss if I didn't first want to congratulate Denise Nystrom, your next District 6 school board member, for getting an award for Woman of Distinction of Education and Mentorship, thanks to her. Now, the reason I came in today, I know some of you atheists prayed that I wouldn't make it, but I'm here. And I'm here, and I'm happy to be here. And one of the things that I would like to say is that we've got a lot of issues going on, and I'm sorry that I didn't have my notes better put out, but here's what I have to say. I was informed that Homeland Security Office closed an investigation against a vendor who has been protected and favored by a seated board member. Even though Varsity Lakes Middle School Principal Matt Medros made the statement in 2019 that the work billed for over $130,000 was never performed at this school. Even though the school district had ample time, they declined to look into this theft of our tax money. As early as 2018, the Florida Auditor General identified the same vendor as a problem on 2 very serious complaints. The board declined to take action. Do we, the people of Florida, not have the right to know when a board turns its back on corruption? The vendor submitted notarized statements from family members and friends, yet we never seen confirmation of payroll nor checks for these wages or dates. Some of these supposedly didn't even reside in the state during these dates. I can also prove that one of them wasn't employed at all with said vendor, for he was working for a salaried position at another company I am affiliated with. So that was a lie. This is not a win for the taxpayers, but another victory for the corruption that is Chris Patrica. Until she is moved, or one of you grows a spine and speaks up for the truth, this corruption will never cease to exist. Dr. Bernier, I would like to welcome you to Lee County. You might find this a horrible career move unless you're a man of transparency and truth. I have repeatedly asked for a forensic audit with no attempt to satisfy the desire of the hardworking people of Lee County. I do hope that the new talented members being elected to this board, some of you will have the courage to be the no vote, since the rest of you are spineless. Stop being bullied by the pile of manure shoveled down your throats by Chris Patrica. And yes, again, this board has failed us as we as Floridians have to stand up and scream, no more. Faith, family, and Florida, that's all that matters. Chris Patrica's corrupt, and Dr. Bernier, if you don't get rid of this, you're going to have nothing but trouble. I promise you, I'm a Floridian, and I'm here to stay.
Mr. Ricking or Ms. Ricking? Okay, Madam Chair, it appears that's the conclusion of public comment.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to, oh goodness, I'm so sorry. Where was I? We do have a process that we are going through regarding the challenges. I know that's an ongoing task, and they're making headway on that. I also want to say that safety and security is our top priority for each and every one of our students and our schools. Also, don't know anything about a disclaimer. Can you please, Dr. Bernier, and I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, but I know that with our the list of items that we have, that's items G. Approval to remove. A lot of those items go to an auction, but I know that there was a reference to Orange County.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I believe the reference was to the Orange County Controller's Office, which is Orange County government. We also had a warehouse where we would conduct sales of our public property that was deemed obsolete. I would have to check with Dwayne Alton and just confirm. I believe I have the answer to your question, but before I would repeat it publicly with even a modicum of belief that I could be wrong, I think it would be more appropriate for me to check and confirm that information. I will do so from the dais with a text message.
Thank you, because I just thought when Trey was here, that was something that we spoke about quite often, but I wanted to bring that back in my head. I'd also like to thank Mr. Palia, Frank, for teaching and the grades, and I know that he quoted you. Our students cannot wait, but I really do appreciate the fact that he came here to us and spoke on that. Regarding concerns to the charter schools, I don't know if that's something that Ms. Ellis had spoke about, and that's, I know there's a process on that we have to follow regarding the charter schools.
Madam Chair, members of the board, charter school applications are a responsibility of the local education agency, which is the school board of Lee County. We have a responsibility to review those for statutory compliance based upon the model application and the model instrument for evaluation of those. As to charter school locations, the school district does not hold any authority over the location of a school. That is a Lee County government issue, and I believe the taxpayer and person at the podium described it very well. It's a matter of a charter school making an application through the governmental processes of the greater county in what she said for some sort of dispensation around some zoning rules. I'm not an expert on local county government and that, right, but I do know the staff has followed the process of the review of this application and found it to be statutorily compliant.
Thank you. And then my last thing would be for Mr. Higgins. We never ask people to leave. We don't want you to leave. However, we always allow them the courtesy to, if they're here for certain events, because this is an action meeting, so it is a work meeting, and a lot of times, as you can see, the kids and everything, they have things to do, so that's why we do a break to allow them, if they would like to, leave at that time. Otherwise, we would love to have them stay here, but at no time would we ever ask them to leave. So I just wanted to make that clarification there. And so moving on from public comments, the next is the approval of the action items. Under the agenda items consent, the documentation for action items listed under consent is made available to the board members 7 business days prior to the board meeting. We are expected to review all of the materials, and we have the opportunity to speak with the superintendent with any questions we may have regarding the recommendations. Some of these items have also been briefed or workshopped with the board in advance of appearing on the action agenda. Board members, are there any agenda items you wish to pull for discussion under unfinished business table items portion? Ms. Fisher?
I have no pools this evening, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Giovanelli?
I have none.
Thank you. Ms. Patrica?
No, thank you.
Ms. Gittens?
I have none, thank you.
Ms. Vaughn?
I have none, thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Morgan?
I have none.
And I have none. Is there a motion to approve the agenda's consent action items with, oh, I'm so sorry, that is not it. Dr. Bernier, please introduce, and I have to apologize, I'm under the weather today, so I apologize that I'm kind of like here but not here. So excuse me if I sound like I'm losing my mind. Dr. Bernier, please introduce.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, we still have to vote on the consent agenda.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as advertised.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. And please record your vote. Did everybody's come up?
You vote, Madam Chair.
Mine did not come up. Yes. Okay, 7-0. Thank you. Motion carries. Dr. Bernier, please introduce any administrators in attendance with a new assignment.
Madam Chair,
that
members
were
of the
approved.
board, I am pleased to announce the appointment of David Eaton. He'll be working the professional standards as a coordinator in professional standards. He is a new hire to our school district. His effective date will be 6/15 of '22, and he should be here in attendance. Congratulations, sir.
Is that it?
Madam Chair, if I go back to the question you asked me a moment ago,
yes.
would that be appropriate? She asked me a question regarding the selling of property.
Yes, that would be, thank you. I think I know the answer.
With the obsolete data, I was correct. With the obsolete information and the obsolete items that have lived past their lifespan here in the school district, some of it is auctioned and some is sold as an asset to reclamation companies. So we do try to recover asset dollars for the obsoleted property.
Thank you. And I thought so, but I just didn't, I wanted some reassurance that I was not, that I was correct. Okay, so let's see. Okay, we are at the public hearing now. Dr. Bernier, please present your recommendations for this evening's public hearing items.
There's a number of public hearing items today, mostly revolving around policies. Item 0.1, approval to adopt policy 6.041, purchasing cards in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes to adopt best practices and promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be June 15 of 2022. Item 0.2, approval to adopt policy 6.0711, competitive solicitation bid protest in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes. This will adopt best practices to promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be June 15, 2022. 0.3, approval to adopt policy 6.0712, the cone of silence in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes. To adopt best practices to promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be June 15, 2022. Item 0.4, adopt a policy 6.0713, contractor discipline in compliance with changes in related rules and regulations and statutes. To adopt best practices and promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be June 15, 2022. 0.5, approval to adopt policy 6.073, commercial anti-discrimination in business operations and practice in compliance with the changes related to rules, regulations, and statutes, and to adopt best practices to promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be June 15, 2022. And finally, 0.6, approval to repeal policy 6.08, bid protest in compliance with the changes in related rules and regulations and statutes, to adopt best practices and promote transparency. The effective date of this adoption shall also be June 15, 2022.
Thank you. We will now recess the regular school board meeting and open the public hearing items. As indicated, the public hearing this evening is to consider: 1, approval to adopt policy 6.041, purchasing cards in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes, to adopt best practices and to promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be June 15th, 2022. Number 2, approval to adopt policy 6.0711, competitive solicitation bid protests in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes, to adopt best practices and to promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be June 15th, 2022. Number 3, approval to adopt policy 6.0712, cone of silence in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes, to adopt best practices and to promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be June 15th, 2022. Number 4, approval to adopt policy 6.0713, contractor discipline in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes, to adopt best practices and to promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be June 15th, 2022. Number 5, approval to adopt policy 6.073, commercial anti-discrimination in business operation and practices in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes, to adopt best practices and to promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be June 15th, 2022. Number 6, approval to repeal policy 6.08, bid protests in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, and statute, to adopt best practices and to promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be June 15th, 2022. At this time, public will be invited to speak on these 6 items, and only these 6 items. The time allowed for comment is 3 minutes. Is there anyone that would like to speak or address the board on these items? Please go to the podium and state your name, please. And just remember, it's just on these 6 items, please. Thank you.
I'm pretty sure that it was policy 6.0713.
Excuse me, Ms. Nystrom, sir. Mr. Higgins, if you can go on the other side of the stanchion or in the back, please. Thank you very much. Yes, please. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, Ms. Nystrom, if we can restart her clock, please.
Can we get a Mr. Chair, for Ms. Fisher, I can't tell whether she's watching for seeing or if she's.
Joe.
You're out of, I'm sorry, Mr. Phillips, you're out of order. Ms. Nystrom, if we can restart her clock, please. Thank you very much.
With regard to vendor discipline, I did read that board policy. I read all the policies. That was the one that concerned me because it discussed the notion that if a vendor potentially did something wrong, that it would go before a committee, and the committee would decide whether or not that vendor could continue to do business in the district. And this speaks specifically to what Board Member Vaughn was talking about at the last board meeting with regard to a vendor who I now know is no longer under investigation, but who was under investigation. And it just seems to me that it would be the board's due diligence that if there was a vendor that was under federal investigation by the Department of Homeland Security, that until such time as the investigation concluded and the person was found, free of all charges, that would not be somebody that the school district should be doing business with. So that's my concern about that policy. Would seem to make sense to put something into that policy that under certain circumstances, the vendor would not be able to bid in the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
I mainly have a question about the expenditure of all of these approvals. Is there a way for the board to comment on that?
Right at this particular time, what you're speaking on are the 6 items that we just spoke about. So that's what you would be commenting on.
So I'm asking for a point of information on the total expenditure of these 6 items.
No, the only thing, we won't have a conversation with you. You may speak on any of the 6 items that are listed.
I may only comment and not address.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so I would like you guys to not approve any of the items that would have any type of expenditure. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address? And Ms. Dupree-Brenner, were you going to make a comment?
No, you responded to it, Ms. Jordan.
Okay, seeing no others to speak, I will now close the public hearing and reconvene the regular school board meeting of June 14th, 2022. Dr. Bernier, I hate to ask you this again, please restate your recommendations for this evening's public hearing items, one at a time.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Number 1, approval to adopt policy 6.041, purchasing cards, in compliance with changes in related rules and regulations and statutes, to adopt best practices and to promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be June 15, 2022.
Thank you. Board members, is there a motion to approve? Oh, I'm sorry, you have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approves to adopt policy 6.041, purchasing cards in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes, to adopt best practices and to promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be June 15th, 2022. Board members, is there a motion to approve? Ms. Vaughn.
I move that we approve the superintendent's recommendation to adopt policy 6.041.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. And do I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Ms. Morgan, thank you. And is there any discussion? Ms. Pacheco.
I just would like to ask a question through the chair to whoever it is I'm supposed to address this question to. I had sent a lot of non-substantive comments to the board attorney asking for changes and explanations as to why those changes might or might not have taken place. We are entering into a period where we are going to be adopting a lot of policies, and I'd like to be able to understand why some of the changes were made and why they weren't made, so that as I go through these policies and make recommended changes, I don't waste staff's time and I don't waste my time. So I'm not sure how to go about having that conversation, but I'd like to put it out there. Some of the changes that were made inconsistently. You know, they were made in one part of the policy, not the other part. So I'm confused as to how to work forward without wasting anyone's time. I just wanted to put that out there, and I do have a comment on another one, but I'll wait until
When we get to that one. Okay, so Ms. Dupree-Bruno, can you answer that question, please?
So we're going through this process with Neola. They're providing us with the Neola templates, or we may have templates that have been approved by Neola from other districts. And each division has what we're calling a Neola champion, who would be on the project team to be the liaison to work with that division with regards to policies. And then that team will be reviewing the policies as we move forward. These particular policies are policies that affect operations and business services. So staff from business services and operations were involved in the review of these policies after the first reading, spent over 3 hours of time reviewing the policies. In addition, Dr. Bernier has nominated or indicated that Dr. Savage will also serve as one of the individuals who will be working very closely with these policies to ensure that the processes that go along with these policies, as well as other things, are done. So this is going to be a very long process. Rest assured that the entire district, actually everybody in the district office in these divisions are involved in this policy. So that's really all I can tell you, that this is not a Kathy Dupree-Bruno drafting policies and presenting it to the board. This is a very systematic and very thorough review of policies that are being brought forth to the board. Again, we are using templates that have already been copywritten by Neola or approved by Neola. So that's our starting point. And then from there, staff, myself, and Dr. Savage are painstakingly reviewing and discussing policies. We are just beginning. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of policies that we will be going through from now until May of next year. And there are some policies that we feel are urgent that need to be brought forth to the board so that they are implemented and adopted, because we do not have those policies. So that's the process.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other, Ms. Gittens?
I just wanted, just for the sake of comment, to say that policies are based on, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the statutes or the laws are given to us that we must follow. And what our job is then is to create the policies as to how we as a district are going to fulfill those statutes and laws.
So
it's not, go ahead.
There's 2 points there, Ms. Gittens. The policies are the governance documents that basically exactly what you said, look at the statutes, and it's not just statutes. There may be case law, there may be administrative rule, there may be Department of Education rules, there are federal laws, there are federal regulations, and those policies basically summarize that body of law. Sometimes there may be policies that come forward just because there are issues that need to be addressed, and we create these governing policies. Once those policies, and this is the board's direction, here is my policy, superintendent, now make sure that you have your staff abide by these policies. And that's when the processes come into place. And those processes is what, on a day-to-day basis, effectuate those governing policies, if that makes sense.
And just, and one other thing on that, for example, the first one talking about credit cards. It's not that this policy is costing us any money. In effect, if done properly, it will save us money in the end from people misusing and not knowing exactly what to do.
So these are not budget items that are directing or indicating that money needs to be spent. These are governing policies for the staff, the administration, to understand what the board's desire is. 90% of the, well, maybe a little bit less, 70% of these policies are going to be based on law of some sort, and then 30% may be based on something that has occurred, or just to make sure that the superintendent and the administration understands what the board's desire is, so that processes can be in place to effectuate those desires.
And finally, the fact that for quite some time, like you said, now that we have hired Neola to help us in this process of creating all of these policies, we will be actually more in compliance with statutes and laws by having this process updated. I know people have brought up before that, you look at our policies and some of them have not been revised for quite some time. So this is a process that's going to help us get where we should be.
Absolutely, Ms. Gittens. This is the best investment that the board can do to ensure that all of its policies are properly updated. There is so much law, and there's so many areas to find the law, that having this service that all these attorneys do is just look at laws from all over the place, plus the benefit of being able to see not only what's going on in other districts in Florida, but other districts across the country, and get some best practices as well. So this is something that will definitely help this board become a very high-functioning board as some of our sister districts that use this process and these policies, this Neola. So it's an excellent, excellent tool that we have to make sure that we're in compliance.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And if I could just take the opportunity to address, well, when we get there, I'll address that.
Okay, let's take care of number 1 first. So is there any other discussion regarding this one? If not, please record your vote.
I don't know, Ms. Vaughn, I'm sorry, Ms. Jordan, if this was seconded. I just have that Ms. Vaughn.
Yes, it was Ms. Vaughn and seconded by Ms. Morgan.
Thank you.
Moved by Ms. Vaughn and seconded by Ms. Morgan. That's why we had discussion, and now we'll go to the vote. Okay, 7-0, motion carries. Dr. Bernier, will you please restate your recommendation for number 2?
Yes, ma'am. Number 2, approval to adopt policy 6.0711, competitive solicitation bid protest, in compliance with the changes in related rules and regulations and statutes, to adopt best practices and to promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be June 15th, 2022.
Thank you. You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approves to adopt policy 6.0711, competitive solicitation bid, protest in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes, to adopt best practices and to promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be June 15th, 2022. Board members, is there a motion to approve?
I move that we adopt policy 6.0711.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Maybe have a second, Ms. Morgan? Thank you. Is there any discussion? Ms. Giovanelli, I'm not trying to ignore you. If there's any discussion, please let me know, okay?
Thank you, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, seeing no discussion, please record your vote. Seven zero, motion carries. Dr. Bernier, please restate your recommendation for number 3.
Number 3 is the approval to adopt policy 6.0712, cone of silence, in compliance with the changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes, to adopt best practices and promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be June 15, 2022.
Thank you. You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approves to adopt policy 6.0712, code of silence, in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes, to adopt best practices and to promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be June 15th, 2022. Board members, is there a motion to approve? Ms. Vaughn?
I just lost my place. Got it.
Three.
I want the superintendent's recommendation for approval to adopt policy 6.0712, Code of Silence, to be accepted by the board.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Gittens. So moved by Ms. Vaughn, seconded by Ms. Gittens. Any discussion? Fisher.
I just wanted to comment that I noticed that on all of these policies, it says this policy is in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes to adopt best practices and to promote transparency and accountability. So I think it says, in a nutshell, why we are doing this.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, please record your vote. Seven zero, motion carries. Dr. Bernier, number 4, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board. Number 4 is approval to adopt policy 6.0713, contractor discipline, in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes to adopt best practices and promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be June 15th, 2022.
Thank you. You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approves to adopt policy 6.0713, contractor discipline in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes to adopt best practices and to promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be June 15th, 2022. Board members, is there a motion to approve?
I move we approve the superintendent's recommendation to adopt policy 6.0713, contractor discipline.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, if I could just...
Yes, please.
Because somebody had asked a question about this policy in particular. Yes. So one thing that I would like for everybody to understand that, again, these are policies that are overall governance, and then processes are created. And this particular policy directs the superintendent to create a committee, and that committee is going to create some guidelines which will be for the superintendent's use with regards to actual contractor discipline. So it's not necessarily enumerated in the policy, it will be in the guidelines.
Thank you, Ms. DePree-Bruno. Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, please record your vote.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Ms. G.
This is for Attorney DePree-Bruno. What happens, is it addressed if, like, the Florida auditor red flags a vendor? So we follow this process at that point in time? Or what? How does that fall under this?
So the guideline will address anything that relates to any type of contractor discipline. So if there is an issue with regards to an auditor, if there is an issue with regards to an inquiry, if it's something that's a full-blown investigation, all of that will be addressed in the guidelines and provide recommendations or processes for the superintendent and the committee to follow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no other questions, discussion, please go ahead and record your vote. Okay, 7-0, motion carries. Dr. Bernier, number 5, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, number 5, approval to adopt policy 6.073, commercial anti-discrimination in business operations and practice, in compliance with the changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes to adopt best practices and promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be June 15, 2022.
Thank you. You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approved to adopt policy 6.073, commercial anti-discrimination in business operations and practice in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes to adopt best practices and to promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be June 15th, 2022. Board members, is there a motion to approve?
I'll move that we approve the superintendent's recommendation to adopt policy 6.073, commercial anti-discrimination in business operations and practice.
Thank you. In second, Ms. Gittens?
Yes, I second.
Second, Ms. Gittens. Okay, it has been moved by Ms. Fisher, seconded by Ms. Gittens. Discussion, Ms. Patrica?
So I had a question on this, I may, through the chair, to the Attorney Dupree Bruno. First of all, I sent an email to the board today indicating that there had been no legal standard added. And when I reread it, I saw that probable cause was added. I forget the line where it was added. Yeah, it's added to line 189, if a finding of probable cause is determined. My question is this. It goes on to say that we can implement discipline per school board policy up to and including debarment. And I'm wondering whether that's based on a finding of probable cause. Having discipline based on a finding of probable cause seems like a standard that's too low.
So remember, this also relates to Board Policy 6.0713, the contractor discipline. So this policy says it can include up to debarment. However, the guide that goes along with 6.0713 will have more specifics in terms of contractor discipline.
I understand that. I'm concerned that we could have up to debarment, or really any discipline on a finding of probable cause. Probable cause is just, that's a very low standard in the law.
So that's again going to be something that's going to be within the guide with the superintendent's committee that is specifically created to address contractor discipline issues. So that's going to be part of the guide that's going to be created. This policy, again, we're looking at the 30,000 feet. This is overarching. This is just the governance policy, and the nuts and bolts of the operation will be in the guide that the superintendent and his committee will have.
Okay, well, I'm not comfortable allowing for discipline on a basis of probable cause, so I can't support this policy.
Okay, is there any other discussion, Ms. Gittens?
Okay, so I'm looking at 189 to actually 193. And Attorney Bruno, it says recommend. So, I mean, in my layman's thought process, we are not attorneys, we are not the judge and the jury. We can only recommend based on our policies that certain things should happen because of breaking best practices or whatever. But can we, I mean, isn't it just a recommendation since we're not the law?
So again, this is going to go to, this follows the disciplinary policy, the overarching part. There will be guidelines, and there will be a committee that will delve into this further. It's quite possible that a contractor could be debarred, but that's one of the most serious and most significant discipline that can happen. It could be anything from suspension to debarment. So probable cause, let me give you an example of probable cause. If I am a police officer and I am walking past a car or something and I smell something, and it kind of smells like weed or something like that, that's probable cause for me to take a look to see what's going on. So it is a very low threshold. It does not mean that this is what the discipline is going to be. There will be a range of discipline that will follow 6.0731, which is the contractor discipline policy. And within that policy, a guide is created for the committee and for the superintendent. And there will be a committee made up of different individuals as appointed by the superintendent who will sit down and review everything that is going on. We have had some instances in the district where we've had to have certain things discussed because of vendor issues, and this allows us to do that. So these two policies go hand in hand, and this does not mandate debarment based on probable cause. This basically says it can be up to probable cause. The same thing that you have in your human resource policies for investigations, it always says the same thing, up to termination. It doesn't necessarily mean that termination is what's going to happen, but that is a possibility. It's the same thing in this policy.
But see, here's the difference to me. Our HR policy, up to termination, we as an organization have the ability to terminate someone. We as an organization, the superintendent, the committee, whoever that may be, does not have legal precedence to disbar someone. In other words, we could just stop doing business with them, right?
You do, statutorily, you as the school board have the statutory right to debar a vendor. You have that statutory right to do so.
Okay, so describe debar then.
So debarment means that you will not do business with the district for 3 years, and then you will be placed on a list for the entire state to see that you cannot do business, and that could affect you. That's why we don't want to have just a debarment policy. Sometimes we need something that's a little bit in the middle or even lower than that, so we have some latitudes in terms of if we need to do a contractor discipline issue. So we may have a vendor that doesn't go to because there's specific things in our current debarment policy as well as the statute that we look at for debarment to make that decision. There's some statutory things. There's also the catch-all as well. So we may not want to go that far where we debar you for 3 years, but we may want to say for the next year you can't do business with the district, or pending an investigation you can't do business with the district, or whatever it is that this guide turns out to be.
Because I can see that getting into a lot of legal back and forth with us, because it's one thing to say you can't do business with us, but to put you on a list that goes to everybody can bring about some other possible issues.
That's why we have a policy that addresses it and lays out the statutory foundation for debarment. In addition, if you look at the contractor discipline policy, in creating the guide, it is to be done with the legal department as well as part of that, helping to create the guide to make sure that all legalities are taken into consideration.
Thank you.
Ms. Patrica?
So if I may again, through the chair, to Attorney Dupree-Bruno, so do the statutory requirements for debarment require a standard higher than probable cause?
So the statutory standard for debarment is a little bit different because the statute actually specifies certain things that have to occur for debarment. Now, there is a catch-all in it, and that's, I believe it's Board Policy 6.08. Let me just double check. That policy is not being changed at this time. At some point, we will update it. It's actually 6.071 is our current debarment policy. We're not touching that policy. It goes along with the contractor discipline. It goes along with the anti-commercial discipline policy. But if you look at that policy, it has very, very specific things that must occur in order for a vendor to be debarred, such as an actual conviction of something. So it's very, very specific. So all of these policies go together. In addition, because of the debarment process, there is an opportunity to appeal because of the seriousness and the significance of debarment. So all of these policies go together.
So a criminal conviction would be required for...
Criminal offense, conviction under state or federal statutes for embezzlement, theft, forgery, bribery, perjury, falsification. There's just a lot of things.
Say the first one again.
So there's a conviction for commission of a criminal offense incident to obtaining or attempting to obtain a public or private contract or subcontract, conviction under state or federal statutes for embezzlement, theft, forgery, bribery, perjury, etc. So there's a whole list of statutory violations that's listed in our current debarment policy.
Okay, and that debarment policy is based on statute. So
yes.
Statute does not permit us to debar a vendor on the basis of probable cause.
No, it does not. We have to follow 6.071. And then remember what this policy that you're talking about, this is an anti-discrimination commercial policy. So we have a contractor discipline policy, but we also have something specific. If a vendor or staff believes that they have been discriminated based on race, gender, etc., this is for these types of situations. And then, of course, then you also have your debarment policy.
Is there any other discussion?
So if I may, so a vendor could be debarred based on a probable cause finding of discrimination?
No. You still have to go back to 6.071. And 6.071 does have a catch-all that says any other cause the superintendent or procurement designee determines to be so serious and compelling as to affect the credibility as a district vendor, including debarment by another government entity. So there may be a situation where somebody has discriminated to the point that it's so egregious that it can fall under Section L of 6.071. But again, that will go to the committee and to the superintendent for them to make a recommendation. And there's also an appeal process. If somebody feels that the recommendation is not appropriate, they can appeal it to the board.
Okay, I feel much more comfortable. And I'm sorry if my questions were frustrating. I think this is the most important thing we as a board do, approve policy, and I simply didn't understand the way these policies interacted. So I appreciate the explanation, and I feel more comfortable voting for it.
Thank you. Seeing no other discussion, please record your vote. Seven zero, motion carries. Dr. Bernier, please, the final one, number 6.
Madam Chair, members of the board, number 6, approval to repeal policy 6.08 bid protest in compliance with the changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes to adopt best practices and to promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be June 15th, 2022.
Thank you. You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approves to repeal policy 6.08 bid protest in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes to adopt best practices and to promote transparency and accountability. The effective date on this adoption shall be June 15th, 2022. Board members, is there a motion to approve? Ms. Morgan?
I move we approve the superintendent's recommendation to repeal policy 6.08 bid protest.
I'll second that.
Thank you. So it has been moved by Ms. Morgan, seconded by Ms. Fisher. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, please record your vote. Seven zero, motion carries. Thank you. Whew. Thank you, Dr. Bernier. And thank you, ladies, for getting us through that. Next is the board member comments, and Ms. Ms. Fisher, I'm going to start with you, please.
Okay, I'm going to be very brief this evening. I'm just going to say thanks to our staff who are here and who aren't here for all your continued work and support and helping us to win recognitions nationwide. And thank you to our public and our speakers who took the time to spend with us this evening and to share their opinions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Stay safe.
Fisher. Ms. Giovanelli, do you have any comments?
No, I'm going to pass. Just thank you. I just want to thank everybody for a good job today. Thank you.
Thank you. I feel better. Ms. Pacheco's here. Ms. Gittens?
Okay, just a couple of things. One, for those in the public that did not see our, I think it was in the briefing today when I asked the superintendent, I'll take this down for a minute, but when I asked the superintendent to please get back to us with a concise process as to how curriculum books are selected and that whole process. One of the things that we heard in a breakout session at FSBA with the Deputy Chancellor was talking about that process and the fact that the DOE vets the vendors and the books and everything based on the curriculum that the state has. So, and their names go on the list. Then the list comes to us, to our district anyway, and they can choose off of that list. It was very interesting because I asked about this at the conference and at that session, and I said, can districts choose their own books? And the answer was, the Deputy Chancellor said, well, they have done so in the past. I said, but then don't they have to come back through you to be vetted? And he said, yes. And he said, so districts that have done that in the past have since gone back to just using their list. So I want to get that out there to say, not as much of the control lies here, but it does lie in with the DOE, the Florida Department of Education. They vet the vendors, they vet the books, they compare them, they send it to us. We are selecting off of that list. If we don't, then we have to explain to them why, and then they still have to vet it. It's not like you can just choose a book and you know, we're going to use this math book. So all the books that are vetted, and we get them from the one location with DOE. But the superintendent agreed that he's going to get a simple list of that process, because I think sometimes people don't understand, and many times we hear the board does this and the board does that. And I just want to say, I hope everyone understands what our responsibility is and what our responsibility is not. There's certain things we do not control, even though popular, command says that we do. This afternoon, because we ran out of time, there were a couple of things I wanted to bring up. And of course, safety and security is on everyone's mind, and making sure what we do and how we do it. And I just want to lay it out there. We talk a lot about single point of entry. And I had a conversation with a constituent the other day about single point of entry and how that is affected with schools that have a large amount of portable classrooms. So, Superintendent, I'm laying that out there. What do we say to parents? And it's rhetorical. You can give us the answer later through the chair. But if we have a single point of entry for everybody going into the main building, then what is the security for the kids or staff or whatever that are in portables that very easily are just protected by metal chain link fence. So it is something we need to consider. And if, like the person said to me, well, if there's an emergency, where do they go? What do they do? Because if they leave the portable, they're out in the open. So I would really like us to look at the safety and security of students that are in outside classrooms. And when we had the report on building and construction and remodeling and all of that, I noticed on the list that everything was listed by alphabetical order. And I know in our discussions, the superintendent had said, talking about prioritizing things. So just as a suggestion, I would like to maybe say we sort items that come across on the capital report in order of priority as opposed to in order of alphabet, if that's possible. And other than that, you know, oh, one thing I did want to mention, and it's been on our website and people, it's been on the news as well, but please let people know about the feeding program, that we do have food available for kids during the summer, that it is out there. And, you know, just if there's anyone you think maybe doesn't know it, just spread it around your neighborhood. The last thing that we would want to see is kids not being able to eat during the summer. And I remember when we had the food pickups during COVID, and part of the issue was getting it. And in other words, if they didn't, the family didn't have a car, and now if they have a car and gas is $5 a gallon, you know, how do they get there to collect the food? And I don't know if we've thought about that based on what's happening in the economy right now. And at one point during COVID, it was an issue because, like, one family would come and bring everybody else to come and collect, and they had to be, there were little caveats to it. So if we can make sure that that is something that we can do, like if one person in the neighborhood brings, you know, a couple of families, is that okay for picking up food? Are there any restrictions on that? Other than that, oh, and I have to say how excited I was this afternoon to see the door open and Dr. Desimore walk in. That was just, I guess she's gone home to rest, I hope. Okay. But it was very heartwarming, and she's been through a lot. We're glad to have her back. And be safe out there. I do want to say to teachers and administrators, take some time to relax. I know there's still a lot of pressure on you, but take those little mini vacations and, you know, a day here, a day there, but refresh so that we'll be fresh for the students that come back in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. I'm going to jump back here to Ms. Patrica.
I'm actually looking for something, so can I reserve the right?
Ms. Vaughn, please.
Okay, as was mentioned earlier, we ran out of time during the briefing meeting, and I did want to, I have a comment that I wanted to make as a kudo to Dr. Bernier. We have a number of key positions that we need to fill, and this is a little bit of a shift, I believe, in filling the positions, and it's one that makes me really happy. He talked about finding the right person for the job, and so the policy has become not just advertising for 5 days and we're done with it, and if we have 2 people, hey, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, but advertise and advertise until we have a number of viable candidates with really strong resumes. So this is something from the briefing that I wanted to comment on. We got a lot of good information. I also wanted to mention Academic Services has ran, I know there was Sizzling Summer or something like, I can't remember exactly. What is it? Summer Sizzling, yeah, okay. And well over 1,000 teachers, and another something that I really liked about the way it was done, because my gripe when I was teaching was always, here's what you're doing, one size fits all, and the teachers had a menu of choices, and they're going to do that again, and so I'm happy to see that. And also, as I was perusing Twitter several days ago, I came across, I took a moment to look at a lesson that, I don't remember the gentleman's name, a math teacher was doing to help students, like tutoring and giving test tips on some of our national exams. And really happy to see that, because that whole thing has been something near and dear to my heart, to we have very smart students, and let's give them all the support that we can possibly give them. On the public comment, and I missed the gentleman's name, I think it was Frank something, a teacher, I don't know if he's still here, but what was it?
He's not.
Anyway, he talked about the grading system, and I'll be really honest, I'm usually really focused in on things like that, but I feel like I haven't been as focused in as I should be, and he brought up some interesting points from his own point of view as a teacher, and you know, as a teacher who sometimes would give my students an 89, a B, when I felt that they didn't deserve an A, that would be something that as a teacher I would have to really rethink. And I definitely want to take a look at that. So Mr. Frank, the teacher, I am going to focus. Paleto, okay. I am going to focus in more on that, and some of you may or may not hear me speak on that in the future. From the public comment, there was also talk about guns and a book and things like that. But one of the things, and I've been really following the news very carefully since the massacre at Uvalde, and one of the things that keeps popping up to me is the mental health piece. And I was very happy to hear, and I haven't really followed up in the last day, on the bipartisan federal deal having to do with guns, and that one important piece of that is that the federal government is going to supply more money and resources for mental health to the states. And you know, the data shows that, and we're talking mainly about the younger people that have often been the ones behind these horrible attacks, that more often than not, they kind of advertise their plans. And so this is something, to me, we really have to pay attention to, and I'm also pretty focused into what we do as a district to keep track of that. I actually, in part, believe it or not, agree with Mr. Robert Roper on the idea of, we've spent a lot of time, a lot of hours reviewing the list of books. Frankly, a little disturbed that at a certain point we just, here's the list and under one statute, okay, this is, anyway, I don't have a problem with parents that feel strongly about the possibility of books that are objectionable to them as a family, that they, now I would say that they register their desire to have a librarian or media specialist contact them. Not sure how that would work because we do have lots of e-books, and especially in our high schools, we have a lot of e-books, but have a system where they can be notified and then they can give their approval or not. Because I'm all for parents' rights. However, I do not believe that anybody can dictate to all the parents their own personal morality and their own belief. And where I lost Mr. Roper on this, and it really, I'll just say it annoyed me. How's that? When he differentiated between the believers and the non-believers with the hint that for some reason you have to be a non-believer to be a person who does not accept censorship. And I took personal offense to that. And finally, to Mr. Smokin' Joe, it's good to see you back here and obviously feeling better because, we've really missed you and your warnings about our indoctrination of our children. So, but seriously, hopefully you're in good health. So welcome back, and those are my comments.
Yes, so first of all, I would like to say that when I attended Summer Series, I was really excited. And then when I heard the conversation this afternoon about the Innovation School and the alignment between what teachers are looking for and what we're talking about doing at the Innovation School, I was doubly excited. So clearly, a lot of thought, a lot of research, and a lot of asking teachers what they need. That's critical. And so I see this beginning to come together. So I wanted to thank you for that. I want to congratulate the student staff in the ACE program for their recognition of excellence in their pursuits. I do want to comment that I continue to be disappointed at the use of public comments as an opportunity to lob personal attacks and introduce political content. On the other hand, several speakers, and this is becoming something that we're seeing more of, not only addressed what they perceived to be problems, but they offered solutions. And, it's a great opportunity for us to hear from you what we might do and respond immediately if it's something statutorily we can't do. And in that light, I did want to thank, where's the name? Marcia Ellison for her education. Thank you. Statutorily, as Dr. Bernier said, we've done our job. The problem is that, the whole charter school situation is fraught with politics. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I want to apologize to the chair for not speaking when you called on me. It's your job, your prerogative to call on us in whatever order you want to. I simply was looking for a policy, so I appreciate your indulgence. I did forward the email or my response to Mr. Pelea to all of you, and I feel out of my league in responding to him further than I did the first time, because 30,000-foot view, I get what you have presented to us regarding the new grading policy, but I can't provide him any more substance. So I don't know if I don't know where to go with it from there. As a parent, as a school board member, I understand it, but I don't understand it as a teacher. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I did spend Sunday, Monday, Tuesday last week in Gainesville for FHSAA board meeting, final board meeting of the year. I embark on my 6th and final year on that board. Beginning in August, September, whenever those meetings occur. It was Executive Director George Tomlin's last meeting. He held that post for 5 years. I would like to refresh your recollection that he did, at the beginning of the pandemic, voluntarily sacrifice 20% of his salary in anticipation of potential financial difficulties associated with the pandemic. And affiliated contributions to retirement plans. It wasn't just the salary, it was the affiliated contributions. The board was able to enforce the terms of his original contract from 2021 and provide him with a payment that did not, didn't equal what he would have received had he not made that sacrifice. We did not realize the financial difficulties we thought we might have, so we were able to make a payment to him. I want you to know the state leadership that he provided and the sacrifice that he made for students. I mean, for student athletes in the state, I thought that was great. And the other thing that was really exciting that came out of that meeting is our own Tom Kenna from Cape Coral High School, the athletic director there, has been named the president-elect of the Florida High School Athletic Association Board of Directors, so he will serve as a year as the president-elect. Next year, he'll be the president. This is a fantastic opportunity for Lee County to raise our profile statewide, and I do believe, and this is the feedback that Mr. Kenna provided to me, and it's also been my experience with Mr. LaRosa, that he is driving that kind of professionalism. He is driving that kind of participation through athletics in Lee County, and it's through his leadership that we have people like Tom Kenna rising. Tom's a great guy, trust me. He's super data driven, which I love. 3 more comments. Project Search. I went to their graduation at Lee Health. Unbelievably inspiring event. Students with learning difficulties. I'm not going to say the correct term. What is it?
Challenges.
Learning challenges.
Intellectual challenges.
Are now able to, they all have jobs. They all have jobs. And the graduation was just adorable. And they got to walk through like a tunnel and cheer. And it was really, really, I don't want to overuse the term, but really life-changing. And I'm hoping to be able to drum up some community support to expand the program, determine how it's funded, and perhaps get a few more donors and a few more companies on board. FSBA, we were all at FSBA last week. I thought it was really, really good training. I learned a lot, as I always do when I'm at an FSBA conference. And finally, if I may, through the chair, Dr. Bernier, I did read the board update from June 3rd regarding the potential for circumventing the policy 2.18 for the media challenge process. If you could just, in the next board update or the one after that, just look at that situation, how it occurred. Was the policy violated? If so, how will we go about making sure it is not violated going forward? When I read that June 3rd board update, I didn't see a determination as to whether the policy was followed. Does my question make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Those are my comments.
And actually, this evening. I just thank you all very much for being here tonight. Appreciate each and every one of you, and I have no comments for tonight. Ms. Dupree Bruno?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank the board for passing these 6 new policies. As your council, it's very important for us to be proactive and find ways to improve the district systems. And the 6 policies that you passed are extremely important. If we had had those policies in place before, maybe some of the issues that we have faced in the district would not have occurred, and we certainly would have avoided some blind spots. Policies in general improve our systems and processes and overall make the district better. I'm leading the Neola project, but this is not a one-person project, it's just 2 masks. So I want to thank our project team members. These people were selected by their chiefs to be part of the project team, and we are calling them our Neola champions. Dr. Savage, appointed by the superintendent for executive services and for the administration, Linda Jo Sanders for operations, Tammy Scott for academic services, Susan Millay for business services, Lisa Vasquez for HR, Jim Short for IT, and of course the legal team is there as well, Jen Schaefer for board docs, and of course Benny, who's my right hand. So I want to thank the superintendent and the chiefs for giving us these individuals to work closely with us. In addition, it takes hours and hours and hours to go through these policies, and the ones that we passed today, I would be remiss if I did not specifically thank Scott Rickenbacker, Susan Millay, Frederick Ross, Dr. Ken Savage, Tracy Adams, and Shayna Zupke for spending the time to make sure that we can bring this to you today, and of course, our superintendent. Again, policies strengthen our processes in our district systems, and we're very excited that we are off and running with Neola. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Dr. Verdier?
Most of you have spoken on the things I would like to talk about. A couple of other things worth noting. Dr. Spiro and his team for the summer series, both for the teachers and for the administrators, really an amazing job. Amazing to see 900 people, almost 1,000 people on the first day of summer gathered in a high school auditorium ready to engage in a learning process. It's their first day of summer and they were back at work. And our principals the following day back doing really critical work around professional learning communities, work that had started prior to the pandemic. It's been disrupted a little bit. Looking forward to having some additional time with the principals next week to begin to set some of the expectations some of the community members were talking about tonight. Just wanted to update the board. I had a great week the last couple of weeks meeting all the AP finalists that will be coming forward. I met the top 2 candidates from each one of the principals' selections. To the community, we've added community members to the selection process of our assistant principals. SAC chair, PCA presidents involve parents, and then occasionally even in a high school you could involve a student under the new processes that Mr. Dodig has instituted at my direction, and thank you to board members who have talked about that need to advertise longer. It has delayed their appointments. They'll be coming to you last board meeting in June for July appointments, but we should be ready to go. I would tell you, you should be encouraged by the people that the principals have found as possible candidates for their school building. I will tell you in all cases, if they pick either, and they were listed in alphabetical order, so A or B, they were both qualified candidates, and a pleasure to meet and interact with them. It was very intentional on my part. I told all of you on one-on-ones that I don't know who all the assistant principals are. I'm still learning all of our principals' names, though I'm getting better and better at it. But this was an opportunity that if I'd been here for 5 years, I would know those individuals. I didn't. And taking the opportunity to get to know them at a personal level and professional level was good. I want to echo Kathy's work on policies and the work of this entire district. I think this is very important work. It is one of the things that the school board is ultimately responsible for, and that is setting the direction and expectations and the guardrails for how employees in this system and staff in this system operate. The other heavy lift will be the procedures that go with it. But for instance, the P card policy you approved tonight, there is already documentation for how we go about using those cards. So we're very proud of the fact that we're aligning both our policy and our practice so we can be aligned with you, be transparent, and be on the right side of all the rules and regulations of the state. And lastly, I'd be remiss to tell you that if you've not taken a tour of the building, it has been an amazing opportunity to meet all the fabulous fine arts teachers that we have They have reset every single photograph and every single piece of student artwork in this building over the last several days. And I've taken great pleasure, much to my chief of staff's chagrin, because she's trying to get me to a place on time. I am stopping and engaging with those educators, thanking them for their time and their effort. So as you walk down the hallways, you think that the artwork has changed. It has. And we have some really talented young people. So finally, I think it's just really important, while we celebrated state champions and national champions in the past, and I'm going to say you, because I was not here at the time. You as a district receiving the award from Cambridge tonight as the large district of the year speaks volumes about what we're attempting to do with our young people and raising the rigor that they're exposed to within their classrooms through a middle school and high school experience. So thank you as a board for that vision, and thank you to staff who's been implementing that work and driving that needle, making sure our children have rigorous exposure and college credits when they graduate, lessening the load on a parent's wallet when they arrive at the college level. So just want to thank you for that opportunity, and thank you for the chance to make my comments this evening.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry, Mr.
Mr.
Phillips.
Joe,
We just can't
you
do
can't
that.
You can't.
Mr. Phillips, you can always send an email to the board or to the superintendent to have your question answered, but we can't do it from the gallery like that.
Okay. Next.
Not supposed to respond to the public, please.
I'm going to continue on to the next scheduled meeting of the board on Monday, June 27th. There will be a board workshop at 12 p.m. On Tuesday, June 28th, there will be a board briefing at 1 p.m., followed by an action meeting at 6 p.m. At this point, having no other business to come before this body, no objection, this meeting is adjourned, and the time is
8:35.
8:36.